Joining me now here on the Rich Eisen Show, 2 weeks from today, he and I will be two parts of the NFL Network Ocean's 11, staring at the Bellagio fountains to make sure that you know every single moment of the NFL draft as it happens. My compadre from the NFL Network and outstanding, along with Iron Eagle on CBS Sports coverage of the NFL, Charles Davis here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, CD?
I'm wonderful, Rich. It's great hearing your voice. Can't wait. These 2 weeks, you never want to wish your life away, but when you're going to have fun with your buds, gonna get to hang with you again, and if there's any way possible we can break Andy Garcia, let's do it.
Yeah, you know what? He just had a birthday the other day, so maybe we'll just say, hey, how about a birthday wish? Hang out with me and DJ and Charles Davis and David Shaw on the first night of the draft. So,
is it possible for us to store our documents in your vault?
Yes, of course. That's exactly the way we put it. That's exactly the way we do it. So let's get right into it, sir. Aiden Hutchinson's the first name we hear 2 weeks from tonight, do you think? What do you think?
I think Rich and I put there. And doing mock drafts, there is an element of how do you distinguish your mock draft from other people's. And for me, it's always, is it plausible? Is it a possibility? And I do Jack was discussing very hard those pass rushers at the top, breaking that down. I think it's going to come down to Hutchinson or Trayvon Walker, and I just don't think Jacksonville can afford to make a mistake at the top. In recent years, their drafts at the top have not been what you would expect. These number one guys not producing the way you want to. And Aiden Hutchinson feels about as safe as you can go right now, in addition to you think he's going to give you terrific play. So I'd be surprised if his name doesn't roll out. So
where do we stand right now? That's not the royal we. I guess that's a royal you. Where do you stand now on Kayvon Thibodeaux? I mean, you were on the concourse set. DJ and I were in the booth, and Willie McGinnis was on the field at the very moment when Thibodeaux put on his sweatshirt after running a 40 to say that he wasn't going to be working out after he told all teams that he was going to work out. His pro day, as we knew, was as dynamic as his game film when he plays his hardest, because that's been the question about his game film. So I've set it all up to put the moment in your hands now. Where do you stand on Thibodeaux going into the draft in 2 weeks, Charles?
Rich, I just did an article. And every year I do one now. It started with guys I thought deserved a first-round grade, and I've evolved it into what I call guys I'd pound the table for. You remember how Mike Mayock used to talk about that all the time. You pound the table for this guy, or you stand on the table for him. And I put Kayvon Thibodeaux in my guys I would pound the table for, because it feels to me like every year there's at least one player that goes through what Thibodeau's going through this year, a terrific player who has a couple of dented in the chassis, and we come at them. And when I say we, I'm talking about all of us in football. And for him, it happens a lot with these pass rushers. So I actually went and did a little bit of homework, Rich, because I was with you when all that happened. You remember when I chimed in and said, I did a radio show with Kayvon Thibodeaux, asked him point blank. He told me, I'm going to do everything because I'm a competitor. So it was a surprise to me as well. So I went back and asked some past general managers, the people who have been involved. Give me some names of great pass rushers who you had motor questions on coming into the point that actually made it to the other side and did well. And two names that consistently came up in recent vintage, Myles Garrett, and in past terrific players, Bruce Smith. So I'm betting on him maturing, doing the things. Sometimes we come at these kids really hard. I'm betting on the other side and him coming out of it. So I still don't think he gets out of the top 5, and obviously definitely not out of the top 10.
So top 5, you say where? You think Detroit would take a shot on him? Do you think
I think Detroit's going to kick the tires on him, but I think Detroit is going to probably go – if they don't take Hutchinson, they take Trayvon Walker.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Thibodeaux had a visit with Detroit, so they're doing due diligence on him. I think the bidding starts at 3. Houston with Lovie Smith. That's a great spot for him. And I think the Giants are going to want a pass rusher. To me, it'd be interesting to see if the Giants want to take a tackle first, if one's available, or if they take the pass rusher at 5, because you come right back at 7. And he's kind of made for Broadway, and you and I both know what the Giants are about as an organization, as a fan base. They're still chanting defense, defense for Andy Robustelli. That's how the Giants love their defense.
Charles Davis here on the Rich Eisen Show. Then we get to the New York teams, and you mentioned how the Giants would take a pass rusher, but they might want a pass protector first. In your mock draft, you have the Jets going, it's Jets first, then Giants 4-5. You have the Jets taking Ike Ekwonu, who we have on tomorrow's show, who I met at the draft. I mean, what a delightful kid, right? And he's also terrific at what he does. Why do you think the Jets do that, Charles, before I go with who I think the Jets should take 4th overall?
Yeah, and again, that's a two-selection team, your squad, you know that. But I think that Mekhi Becton hasn't answered all the questions. When you're starting to talk about he's in a competition with George Fant, instead of, hey, one is going to play one tackle, one's going to play the other, contracts come into play. You're always trying to get better up front, especially with that young quarterback, Zach Wilson, that I believe they're actually sold on. With Sam Darnold, they went for it. They kept thinking. This one, I thought they're already sold. Even though it wasn't the greatest, rookie year in history, this kid really came on late. Give him more opportunities to be upright and throw the ball downfield. I do think it would not surprise me at all, Rich, if they paired another receiver with him. And the other part of that is I do think the corner comes into play, whether it's at 4 or it's the next pick.
No, that's me, 4. I want Sauce.
You want Sauce at 4.
I want Sauce at 4. I want that. Look, clearly at 10, the Jets are going to have an opportunity at a top-notch receiver. I think at least one of the Ohio State receivers will be there. I think Drake London can possibly be there. Jamison Williams. I had Nick Saban on the show just yesterday, and Nick was talking about Williams will be ready for the season in his estimation. But to me, I need somebody who's going to look at Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, who's going to look at somebody who the Jets face at a top-notch wide receiver. Say, I'll take him.
Yeah.
That's what they need. Whether he was ready or not, I don't know. We had Luke Fickell on, and Luke said, I didn't think he was ready the first time I put him in, and then we looked at each other saying, why did we think otherwise? So, you know what I mean?
I like where you're going. I do like where you're going, and it makes sense because we have to win the division playoffs, right? The easiest path to the playoffs. Build your team to win your division. Because I think in my mock draft, I came back with Stingley at 10 for you, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm off a little bit, but Stingley's put it on display all these years in Cincinnati without a bump. Stingley, I think, is the most talented corner in the deal. But the last 2 years have been a little, how do we say it, uneven. All right? If we get 2019 Derek Stingley, I think you take him and you jump on him at 4 and you keep moving. But now with Gardner, the way that he's played and done it for all these years and continue to ascend, that's why he's the number 1 corner in this draft.
All right, before I let you go, Charles Davis, you had Malik Willis at 6 for Carolina. Yeah. Boy, that would be so monumental that Carolina, with their 1 draft choice in the first 2 nights of the draft, uses it on a quarterback, let alone somebody with a huge upside, but obviously not enough experience to throw in, one would think, this year. Walk me through why you think that, what you're hearing about, and your evaluation of the quarterbacks writ large, Charles.
In large part, Rich, I'm kind of taking a general manager, in this case Scott Fitterer, at his word. And that doesn't mean anything this time of year, right? I mean, look, we all play liar's poker, okay? And you should. You don't tell the world everything you know. But I thought he was I don't think he was being disingenuous a few weeks ago. You remember that presser, Rich, what he said at a certain point? You have to take a shot in the top 10 to try and get that quarterback. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that you always do it. You've got to have a good education. I mean, he went to a number of things. But I thought that sentence was telling to me. And so, again, as you're doing a mock draft, an offensive tackle makes sense for them there. You know, can they help with other positions? Obviously. But I put Willis there as opposed to Kenny Pickett, who is the top-ranked quarterback in this draft for this reason. Oftentimes when things haven't worked out the way you've wanted to, you go a little bit opposite of what you've had before. Kenny Pickett in play style is very similar to Sam Darnold. Doesn't mean Kenny Pickett won't have more success than Sam Darnold. But a play style, stature, very similar. Willis looks a lot like what Matt Rule had to deal with in college when he was at Baylor and Temple. And that's what drives coaches crazy. That extra mobility, the quarterback run game, the RPO action, all of those things. So I kind of went opposite. And again, there is a little bit of element of can you distinguish your mock draft from someone else's? And that was part of it. And I'll leave it with this, Rich. I've told people this, and I will take the lie detector test. All right, I will be like in Ocean's 11 when he had to pass it, to get through and make sure that he could work. And he's stepping on the tack all the time to make sure the answers got messed up. I will take it clean. My first 4 mock drafts before I submitted one, I didn't have a single quarterback in the first round. And then I realized that was just unrealistic in today's NFL.
Right.
I had to come back and try and find spots for people.
Well, and it is a remarkable aspect of this draft. We're always focused on quarterbacks, Charles, and last year we had 5 in the first round. That Mayfield, where he winds up, might be determined by who gets which rookie quarterback in this draft, right? If Seattle gets Desmond Ridder, they might be less likely to go get Mayfield for this year. If Carolina does get anybody 6th overall, that would probably dry up a spot for Mayfield there. If both Seattle and Carolina get one, I have no idea where Mayfield winds up. None. 0.
It's a great point. And think of this, Rich. We're going to be sitting with our buddy and colleague David Shaw, the head coach at Stanford.
Yes.
Who does such a terrific job. Was his 10th straight year doing the draft with you. We're going to be sitting with him on opening night, and we're going to be talking about these quarterbacks. His quarterback last year, Davis Mills, remember how much fun we had when he went in the 3rd round to Houston?
Yeah.
And now he is their starter? If he had stayed in school, Rich, I firmly believe we'd be talking about him at the top of this quarterback draft this year. He would be the number 1 quarterback off the board. Because he went in the 3rd round last year because he had, 11 starts in college? I think if he had stayed, played throughout this one, we'd be talking about Davis Mills. And again, that's another place now that Houston, I don't think, is in the quarterback market. So Baker Mayfield trying to find a spot. As you mentioned, they're drying up the rookie quarterbacks who were drafted. I do think that Davis Mills coming out last year also affected this year's draft.
Well, for sure. I mean, and then the Texans have a couple of first-rounders now because guess what? The Cleveland Browns took Deshaun Watson, leaving Mayfield looking for a spot. It really is amazing how drafts intertwine, and obviously from year to year, and obviously with what's going on in real time for an NFL season and part of the talent evaluation and roster building. Charles, I'll see you in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thanks for the time right here, brother.
I'm looking forward to it, Rich, and I'm not going to pull the Don Cheadle, although I want to. I want to wear that Evel Knievel outfit on opening night.
Why? Well, I mean, there's 3 days in front of the Bellagio fountain, 2 nights, 1 day, Charles. There's many opportunities for all of us to do that.
At what point will we want to recreate Evel jumping the fountain?
Oh.
It wasn't the Bellagio.
No, it's a Caesars fountain. That's just up the road a little bit.
Right.
Maybe should I wear the Carl Reiner fisherman's hat? Should I wear that at some point in time?
I'm liking it, and I will bring the Matt Damon Linus notes.
Trust me, you and I will be making Ocean's 11 references non-stop 2 weeks from tonight when we start. Thanks for the call, Charles. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, you do the same, Rich. Thanks for everything.
The one and only Charles Davis will be hanging out way too much in Las Vegas, Nevada shortly, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.